Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Doing good, thanks. Give me one second to get this pulled up. Okay, so you're in California, yeah?
Yes, yeah, San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay, cool. I used to live in El Dorado Hills a long time ago, kind of by Sacramento. So
Right. Wow. Okay. And where are you now?
I'm in Florida. I moved from El Dorado Hills to Vegas. So, well, this just kind of like goes into my backstory a little bit. I've known Dan, the guy who started all of this, since college. So we went to Oregon together, and our families have grown up together, kids, all that jazz. And like we all moved to El Dorado Hills, and then we were all living there, Ipe as well. And then Ipe moved to San Francisco. So he's there right now. And we moved to Vegas. So they're still there. And then I came over to the east side like probably, I don't know, 9 months ago.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's a huge change.
Yeah, I'm from New York City originally, so like I mean, I haven't lived on the East Coast for a long time, but um I still get the beach and the hot, weather. That's something I love, but yeah, it's definitely different than Vegas, so and California for
Mhm.
sure. But
Right.
anyways, so yeah, I mean, with that, I've been in this business model myself since 2015, so for a long time. And then I used to be a teacher, so I taught fifth grade. I had my daughter, she was 2, and then I found out I was having twins. So that was my aha moment of like, okay, I'm gonna have to, figure out something else to do. I knew what Dan was doing like from the side, but I didn't really have any like pull, to get into this. Until life kind of forced me to look at it. And yeah, here we are 10 years later. So it works. You just gotta, just like with anything, put in the work and treat it like a business. I mean, the concept makes sense. Even to me, when I started, like at a very basic level, I had no knowledge in this, but I'm like, okay, like every business needs leads. I get that, and I prove it like as a consumer. Pick up my phone, I Google stuff all day long, and I really don't scroll past the top couple spots. So yeah, it just made sense at a very basic level.
Right. Okay.
But sorry, I know I would just like led into that. So I was like, I'll just get my background a little bit. But like tell me kind of how you like how'd you end up here? Like you obviously have a good job, it sounds like, and corporate say you're in sales, yeah? Or tech?
Yeah, like sales, marketing, and the tech
Right,
industry. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, I've been doing this for 8 years and I think I'm just like burnt out. I'm like, we're a small team and I'm just giving more work and like like not there isn't more pay. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I do get an annual raise, but it's like throughout the year I'm getting more and more work and it's just, it's overwhelming. I'm like, hiring and like building teams, making sure they're like high performers. And then on the side, I also have to do like my own projects and like make
Yeah.
sure I deliver those on time. And so it's just too much now. And I think I'm just kind of done. And, like, so I work for a software company. We're all remote. We all work from home. And so, like, it just for me, it makes sense to just do my own thing now because I feel like I have the skills and abilities to just go out on my own and um, yeah, and just make money online like by myself. So I'm just kind of just looking at a lot of different options. And so I actually came across ePay's website because like before like I opt into the form, I was looking into like faceless YouTube
Yeah.
channel.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I think he had, so there's this guy, I don't know, like Caleb Box. I don't know, I think he has like a program on faceless YouTube channels. And so I, just Google like, okay, like, trying to find some reviews on his program. And then I think Ipe had something like, oh yeah, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I think he did do like a review on that program and he said it's good and whatever, but then he said, oh, but local gen is the way to go and like it's better. And so at work, we do we basically like bid on like leads on like softwareadvice.com, capterra.com.
Okay.
And So yeah, I mean, like leads, we definitely need leads to make sales. And because in the software space, like most of our money is made from retaining customers, just that monthly recurring revenue. But yeah, like the leads is definitely like the
Like
lifeline of the
lifeline.
business.
Yeah, yeah,
So like I know how important like lead generation is, and I saw, like ePay's videos, and it does, it seems like like a really good business idea of just like having small websites, and then just renting it out to local businesses, people who aren't tech savvy.
yeah,
Yeah. And so I don't know. I feel like with my experience and, um, expertise, I just feel like this is a good fit, like as far as like me starting my own business, doing something online. Yeah, because right now, uh, our customers are primarily like fit in their 50s and 60s. And so like we have a customer success team. We basically just teach them how to use the software. We do a lot of like setup for them, like onboarding. So yeah, I don't know. It seemed like I have the skills to like,
for
do
sure.
this type of local lead gen business.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like you don't even like this. I mean, I had no skills, like I taught, you know what I mean? So when you come in and have, I think even a background, right? And sales and you manage and you work from home, so like that adds a whole nother thing, like that a lot of people when they start this they have to almost like retrain their brain, to like it's hard to work from home. Most people I think it's amazing, right? You have some flexibility, but it's very easy to get distracted and all that kind of stuff too. So I think there's all of that comes into it. So in your case, like you have, an even more advantage, I'd say, right? Than, me when I started. I have like starting scratch, basically. Like,
Right.
oh, I know how to send an email. I know how to get on Facebook, like basic, normal social stuff. I had nothing, any background in, sales or even, honestly, like conversing about business. That's not what I did. So no, that's good. Okay. I understand exactly where you're coming from. And you said it's a startup, right?
Right. Yeah. So we've grown a lot over the past 8 years, and yeah, I think I'm just kind of done now. And I can, like I help the company make money online. So it's like, okay, I can like definitely do this myself, like make my own money online.
Yeah,
Um,
for
yeah.
sure. It's tough too, because it's like, um, I mean, I have a lot of friends in the tech recruiting space. So like, I heard a lot, I've seen a lot, and startups definitely you got to put in a lot of work because I mean the money's tight and you got to make it stretch. And so I totally understand, it's a lot on your guys' shoulders. And obviously the payout could be big, right? But it's also if you get it to that point, and I think that
Right. Yeah.
that's the risk a lot of it takes. But yeah, I totally understand. So, anyways, I'm an open book. Like I don't have a presentation, like I can show you the course and that kind of stuff, but I think like if you watch some of the videos, you probably have some questions, like we can kind of, go from there and just see, what those are. And basically, I'm an open book. I've done this like myself, obviously, as a student and, help coach, been around it a very long time. So I can speak to all the things, and just give you like a real life view of, what it is.
Right. Okay. Yes, I did watch those videos, like I think the link in the like the pre-call link.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I do have a couple of questions.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so one of the things at work is like we're always it's always a challenge to like rank at the top or even rank on the first page. So I know with this business model, it's like it's very important to like, rank at the top, bring in those leads for those local service businesses. I guess because like with us, because I've been here for 8 years, it's like the Google algorithm is like, you know, has been changing. Like I think 2022 was like where we reached our peak, but then like last year it was just like super slow. Like it was this whole like 180. So I guess like my concern about this with business is just like, okay, how do you guys like, always rank at the top, or like what, um, I don't know, I guess, how do you guys like deal with that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Listen, I think there's a lot of variables that kind of go into that too. And I don't know exactly from your guys's, the startup perspective, right? Like it seems like it's a very, I'm sure, competitive, very competitive space. And you guys can probably service nationally. You know what I mean? So you're playing a different ball game, I think, than what we're playing. From a local level, at least, the skills are transferable, right? Like what we teach you on a national, international, whatever level, right? It's just a higher level of play. When you get up to that, the competition is insane. And like Ipe's blog is a prime example, right? I mean, he's doing exactly what we teach, obviously a lot, higher of that, but he has like 30 content writer, like you have to perform at that level to get there and stay, when your competition is that high. Why this works so easily for us is because we are kind of playing smarter, not harder. Like we're going into a localized area comparative to, you know, trying to get the whale. Like we're just trying to get a piece of it and all of that can kind of add into it, right? But I mean, there's a lot that goes into SEO, like I mean, backlinks, content. I'll be honest, I don't really feel like Google's algorithm has changed a ton, like even from my business perspective of doing this throughout the years I've done it. Obviously, there's technology that's got added in, right? And like AI, whatever the case is, like Google Map stuff. But like the core of what Google wants, especially from a local level, what value are we adding to the internet, right? Like, and then kind of a mixture of content and who's talking about you, and how do you get those links? And that's why we've been able to keep the sites, like from our level pretty easy. Again, I just think it's a different ball game when you get up to, you know, higher competition. You have to know more, have a lot more power to it, but you know, that's not what we're trying to do from this angle. So, if does that make sense a little bit?
Right. Yeah. So I guess let's see here. So I guess um yeah, I guess do you guys like teach the SEO and the backlink stuff in order to like rank high?
Yeah, this is a course, by the way. Sorry, I just shared
Okay.
my screen. So we teach every piece of the pie, basically. Like you're gonna learn, I mean, niches, back end of the business foundation, monetization, like why we're doing this, how to build the sites, what they should look like, content, keywords, Google Maps. SEO is a huge chunk of the course. I mean, it's this section, it's called Optimize. Honestly, it's probably like the longest because again, it's the most important part. I mean, you have to get it up to the like what you were saying, right? You have to get it up to the first page. Like what good is a website when no one can look at it? So ultimately, I mean, we understand that and get it. And we teach on this every week too. Like even in the Facebook group, we do live group coaching calls, and we also have one-on-one calls that you get too. And I can go over that in a sec, but the group, like twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, Ipe goes live once, and then there's usually some like another one of us, depending on schedules or what we're talking about, that kind of do the other lives. But we're talking about ranking all the time, breaking down sales calls, like, different tactics that we're learning. Cause I mean, we're still in the business too. So as, we learn stuff, like we're taking that and be like, hey, like we just taught on this new tactic. Where is it? I just had somebody. Oh yeah, like this. Like this is basically a live that Ipe did, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And we kind of talked about this, me and him, and then tested it. And then we're like, oh shit, this works. Okay, awesome. So now we, taught it, right? So like we're always implementing and adding new stuff into like the foundation that you guys are learning in here. Because I do think, to your point, right? There's always something new that's coming out in technology. And, how can we use it to our advantage, right? In this space. So there's a ton of learning going on all the time.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Same at my work. Yeah, it's
Sure,
always
sure.
learning. Things are always changing.
That's the
Um,
tech space, you know what I mean? It's funny,
yeah.
like I can't believe I do like it sounds bad, but I mean it's not like I woke up one day and I'm like, I want to own a marketing company. Like it was just kind of the path that was there. And I mean, like, okay, great. It adds the freedom and the flexibility that I need, and if I can make money from it. But yeah, it's crazy, like saying this is what I do, like I never thought I would be in tech in that way of like, oh, I can
Right.
do things on the internet or I know how to run ads or, all that jazz. I'm sure what you guys do is probably more technical than I think our business model is. I mean, obviously there's technical sides to it, but it's not like we're sitting here writing code, you know, all day long.
Right. Yeah. So I guess when it comes to like um, the sales process, is it just like book an appointment, schedule a call with like the owner, operator of the business, show them, you know, and then close the deal? Is that pretty much?
Listen, I think there's so many ways to do it,
Mhm.
like
Okay.
that is one of the great things about the model, but I also think sometimes that's where people can get overwhelmed because I do think that everyone has their own, I mean, we all are different people, right? Our own personalities, like all this stuff, have different comfort levels with things. So we give a ton of like methods, right? And like I think you get to cherry pick what, hey, like this works for me, Sarah, but what's gonna work for Janet, right? Like you can mold that into what you want. And one of the leverage points specifically, I think, with this model is that we have the leads first, right? So it's a completely different conversation than let me have a meeting and like let's go over what I can do for you and all the typical normal. I'm sure this is very corporate-y, right? Like that is the flow of things in that world. I would not say that's how we run. We're very like, I mean, this is our business. We can do whatever we want. So that is one of the leverage points is that it's more, you already have the value to show them. So it's a conversation of, hey, do you want these leads or not? Basically, like in that sense. And if they don't, I mean, there's 50 other plumbers, right, that can do the job. So, um, we've also done it your way, like what you just said, where it's like if I have someone that wants to me to do their SEO, right, like I can do that for them, but that's a bigger conversation. You have the proposals and the scope of work and all the other things that you're going to go over. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Starting out, I think the biggest advantage is the fact that you already have the leads, so it's much easier conversation. But we give a ton of ways of prospecting, like we go through that. I have a tactic that I've taught on that's worked really well for me. Ipe's done some new stuff. Like I was just saying, like he had gotten into more of like even a cold calling thing. I won't do it. Like I just can't do it, not my thing. We have, there's again, everyone's different, right? Like, so there's a ton of stuff that you'll learn, but the biggest thing is that you have the cards, on your side, and it's not you yearning for a client, or, oh my gosh, I got to close this deal. We have so much opportunity. I mean, they should be the ones that are trying to earn our business in a way, right? And get those leads. So
Right. Okay. And then I guess let's see here. I guess for this program, how much is it like done for you? And then how much is it like I need to do? Like I'm just curious, like what the like what's on both sides.
no, for sure. Um, so we teach you everything, right? Like I do think that's important. And we have this, we want to teach you how to fish, like, because I think that's, you have to be able to pick up the pieces of your business if you really want to own the business, right? Like I think there's a lot of stuff out there that, oh, here, like here's turnkey and okay, well, what happens if, like, that's not a true business, at least in my opinion. We've all learned how to leverage people though, as you scale and grow, right? Like you can't manage, we don't want to do everything. Like I want to focus on the stuff I like to do. So I'd say majority of the business can be outsourced, honestly. If you get to that point or want to get to that point, but you do know how to do everything, so you are learning it all. And I think again, you should at least do 1 or 2 sites yourself to see the process, because then right, when you want to hire a VA or get into that stuff, like what to look for, what actually the work is involved, and you can have those details. But we do offer a lot of done for you services, like if you want those things, but I don't think it's necessary if right off the bat. Like you're going to be able to do every piece of it. You get 5 done for you sites built for you. So like as you're going through the course, you get a lot of help with this too. This whole section is all about, your niches, and it's like the $1 million question everyone has, like what's a good niche? And
Yeah.
you know, I've done this long enough. I just know there isn't an answer to that. Like all niches are good, in my opinion. It just depends on where it is, right? Like I live in Florida. I'm not going to go into snow removal, right? I mean, but if I was back in New York, be phenomenal niche because it's used. So, there's different things that we're going to teach you that you just start to look for and understand. And then we'll build sites for you too. So it just kind of makes the process faster. So like as you're learning and going through these videos, right? Because it's always going to take the longest in the beginning. You have stuff being built for you on the back end. So, more opportunities, more lines in the sand, all that jazz.
Got it. Okay. And I guess, let's see here. On average, how long does it take someone to get to like 10K per month in this business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, listen, I've seen it all, even with my story specifically, like when I started this, I was, like I said, I was a teacher. It's not like I made a ton of money anyway, but like my husband at the time, had a great job, and that was not specifically the reasons why I wanted to do it. It was almost like I've always worked my whole life. The fact that I was very blessed, I wanted, that I was able to stay home, with the kids, but I needed to do something. I was like, I'm gonna go freaking crazy if I have to stay here all the time, and something to call my own too. So I was slow and steady. That was my point with this, is like I built a site and like I got it rented. And I got my first site rented in maybe like, I don't know, 7 weeks-ish, like around there. But I had built it up, again, it was not a super priority for me, at that time. And I also didn't have a ton of time. Like, I mean, I had newborn twins and a 2-year-old. So it's like, I mean, I barely got a shower some days. So it just fit into like what I needed. But by 6 months into the business, I probably was around, I'd say like 2 grand a month consistently, compounded, right? As it built up. I stayed around that mark, honestly, for like a year and a half. Like, again, everyone's got different goals with this stuff. And that was not a priority for me to scale it, until my husband at the time got laid off. And that's like those scary life moments that happen. And you're like, okay, what do I do? Like, you know, are we going to go for this? Or are you going to go back to your soul sucking job that you make a lot of money at, but you're never home and you never see the kids, and, no work-life balance kind of thing. So we decided to go for it, obviously. And it scaled pretty quickly, after that. Once you kind of have this down, it's just doing more of it, right? And like that was the easier part. So to answer your question, and it was long-winded, I mean, I think it really does depend on what you want and what you want to do. We have goals that we go over with you. I think, if you came to me and said, I want to make 10 grand a month by 6 months, right? I think your action plan would be different than what I did, like focus wise. There's lots of ways to monetize these skills. So we just kind of like dissect what that looks like and figure out the route to go. But I think on average, you know, 10K a month, if you look at it from like the compounding, you know, adding clients in every month, right? It's just going to keep getting bigger. I don't know, I'd say a year and a half. Like, I think that's normal if you are consistent. Like, that's the big thing. I mean, it's a business, you got to treat it like such, you know? And I think that's probably the biggest challenge that I've seen people go through. And the business model, it's not the model, right? Like, there's people paying for leads all day long. There's no shortage of people paying for leads, right? It's being consistent and learning and figuring out, you know, your route in the business, you know, and like that just takes some time. Like, that's experience. That's how any business works. And, you know, people expect greatness, right? Like tomorrow, because I think that's what's online now. Oh, I posted this link and I made $1 million. I mean, that's just not the reality of life. Honestly, we all know that, what most people do. But yeah, I think like, you know, if you have those goals, and again, one client could be worth more, maybe, right? Like maybe that client's $2,000 a month and the next one's 500, and you know, your goals are going to change, but as long as you're consistent with it, like it's very doable. It's easier to go from 5 to 10K a month, like that jump, than from 0 to 5. Like that's the beginning is always, you know, the hardest. It's new. So you just have to kind of learn the ropes a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that all makes sense. And yeah, I guess the speed of one person and trying to move things forward, that's definitely a factor. I guess let's see here. You mentioned like some of these sites can be rented out from like 500 to 2,000. I guess um, how is it priced? Like, what's the difference between selling a 500 one and then a 2,000 one? Is there like more added value or?
So I think that, and we'll discuss this obviously in depth. Like, I know I'm being very general, but we could talk for hours, obviously, on all this stuff. When you're going through this section, like your niches, uh, there's high ticket niche, right? Low ticket, high volume, low volume. So a lot of that factors can play into like what your lead costs are, right? Like ePay just did, that was that video I showed you like in the group. This one, a tactic that we kind of tested out was a quick one. It's a quick tactic. And we basically put up a map listing before a website. That map listing has low competition, so it's getting leads pretty quickly, very quickly actually. And he just called a business, basically asked for a commission deal. Hey, if I send you leads, you close it, can you pay me 10%, right? Like, what business wouldn't want that? I mean, there's no risk involved for them, at that point. And it was a higher ticket niche. He got paid $1,500 from that one lead, right? So like, there's ways to position your monetization of this to benefit you, to your 10K mark, right? Like, there's people that want to, I'm probably the person that is, I like things easy. I want simple. I have, 3 kids, like my life is nuts. I just don't want to deal with that. I just want mailbox money. Like, I'm not trying to squeeze every penny out of my sites, if that makes sense. Some people want to do that, and that's totally, again, fine. So we help you kind of price that out. We have tools. Let me show you the calculator that you can just kind of get some rough ideas for, punch in numbers, right? Like that job I was talking about, it was like 15,000 was the cost of that job, and let's say, I don't know, we'll say like maybe they got 30 leads for the month, like profit margin, very easy numbers that most business owners should know, roundabout. And, you can just kind of say, hey, like, if you want a monthly flat fee, right? Do you want, commission? You could do pay per lead kind of thing. These sites are costing you like $30 a month to run. I mean, our margins are pretty high. So I think that just depends on what you feel comfortable with and like what the business owner feels comfortable with, right? Like, we have a saying, don't get mad at your money. Dan's like, it's money, take it, move on to the next, do another one, like that's just kind of our philosophy. So it really just depends on what you want, I guess is my point. And you'll have guidance of that. But if you have a business owner that's willing to pay you $2,000, and then maybe like another student has, a similar niche site, whatever, different area, but he's only getting 1,000, like it doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just the value that is getting given and perceived, right? That's kind of how it works. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing, when pricing lead calls amount, right? Is it commission, right? Is it pay per lead? Flat fee. Those are harder, I think, to sell a little bit because you have to have a lot of data to justify that. If they're going to pay you $2,000 a month consistently, they need to see, months of this return, right? And have that expectation. And also same for yourself. Like you don't want to undercut yourself either from that sales aspect as well. So I've done that before. It sucks. It's hard to ask for more money when, I ask for a flat fee and then I'm like, oh man, like I could actually be making a lot more money from this. And then you go and they're like, no, I mean, why would they want to pay you more when you've agreed upon a price, right? So, we teach on that and how to go about it, but your first deal is always going to be your lowest, I'd say. That's just kind of how it goes. And you learn and get better and grow, from there.
Right. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, so I guess what are the details on this course and
Yeah.
program?
So I'll kind of break this down like general for you. I'd say like 3 parts to this. So you have like your main course curriculum, which I showed you like in here. It's 7 different modules, probably like 40 hours. Like if you were to add them all together, straight videos. Um, we liked you to like break it up into sections. So I'll tell you like, I want you to get through X, Y, and Z. And then from that point, you will book a call on, there's a few of us that do this. You'll have my calendar, you'll have Char's. We just like to help in the beginning. You don't have to take our help, but if you want it, it's there. But like we like to at least hop on a quick Zoom with you. We'll go over what you learned. And then ultimately like, okay, great. Like there's more times available to this too. But anyways, get the gist. So go over what you've learned and then just kind of like green light the next step, right? Like I think it's easier to break down those and the process, into chunks rather than you just sitting there trying to absorb this whole model, right? All in a sitting. And then I just think it's good that you have, us talking for 10 minutes is going to clarify a lot, right? Rather than texting or going over, Facebook Messenger, emails, whatever. Like you can have your questions ready. I can show you live specific things, right? That are geared towards what you need. That's only going to push you faster, in the model in the business. So we'll kind of do that. And then, you have your niches, we'll submit your done for yous, right? Because those take a couple weeks to get built. Then you're going to start building one yourself, which is like the next section. And we'll, step by step show you how to build these websites. You can use whatever platform you want. I'll say that too. Like there's a lot of people that come from a tech background. If they want to do WordPress or again, it doesn't matter to us, right? You use what you feel comfortable in. There's some we tell you to steer clear of just because they're horrible for SEO, like we want to guide you in that right direction, but we're not super techie people. So like us trying to teach WordPress in that, realm, just, you don't really need to learn it, I mean, there's no point. You have other options. So we built Snaps, I don't know, probably 5 years ago. It's kind of like a Weebly / WordPress combined if you had to do the two. There's a lot of customization, which is nice. That's the stuff that sucks on the other builders. It's like, you're just stuck in their realm of what they have available. So we wanted more options with that. But yeah, there's hundreds of templates you can choose from. Like if you're going into, I don't know, Windows, great. Here it is. Like go change the colors, change the pictures, right? Like content, but the layout's done for you. We have AI built into this now, which is great too, which we've added that in recently. So you can literally just go in and create your own AI pictures, right? You have free media that's right there instead of, paying for all that. And, a lot different than when I was starting a long time ago. So a lot of cool stuff to add in. But yeah, so we're teaching how to build that. And if, again, you can use whatever platform you want, how to set up the call tracking system, content, keywords, right? How do you know what to look for? Like all those things you'll learn in here. And you can kind of see like each module builds upon each other. So when you're done with this one, now you kind of have like a live site, right? Now it's this website that's just sitting there. Well, now we need to get it to the top. So that's what this whole part is, right? So now we start the ranking process. And this is the part too, and I'm sure you know from dabbling in this stuff, like it's just small daily consistent actions with SEO. It's not some, you're gonna sit there for 5 hours and that's all you do. I mean, it's just very daily things, but small. So you can really condense a lot of this business easily into like an hour or two a day. There's not a need to be doing this 40 hours a week, especially in the beginning, honestly, like at all. You really can mend this, mold this into what you want it to be. And let's see. Okay. All SEO. And then we go into Google Maps. So that's like a whole nother ranking factor. So we'll teach on that. We talk a lot about that in the group too. Because I do think out of anything, maps is kind of the thing that changes a lot. And has changed the most. Not from like, how do I say this? It's just gotten more steps, I guess. Like when I started, a long time ago, like I did like one step and I got a map listing. I think now there's maybe 5, right? Like it just got a little more detailed. So you kind of have to know the ins and outs of that. And from there, the fun part, right? This point, you should be ranking, getting leads, right? Coming through, your site's moving, which means it's time to rent them or sell or however you want to put it. So we'll go into a lot of tactics about that. Again, there's just so many different ways to make money from this. Like I had no idea what I was getting into, honestly, like years ago. But I think that's awesome because everyone again is different, and I've done stuff on, side projects that I've been able to utilize this, it has nothing to do with, I guess, lead gen per se, but like I can start a blog. I want to get into e-commerce, right? Or things like that. I know how to get the customers. And like that's the most important part to any business. And, as you kind of scale and grow in all of this, you have passive money coming through, right? Like that's the key. I don't think like any of our passions in life go away, like it's still there. And you have the means to focus on that and also like so much knowledge too, which I think is phenomenal. Like I love the fact that I love clothes. It's my thing. I mean, like that's me. I'm just like I love going and finding deals and things like that. So like I'm getting into e-commerce now. Like I never thought I could because I knew how competitive it was. But I'm like, okay, I know the market, I know my niches, I know how to get seen, I know the tactics because of all this. So tons of stuff you can do. And obviously that's like long-term picture thing, but I just think that, the skills are so valuable to have, on your tool belt. Cause you just kind of don't know what life's going to throw at you, and all the things that you can do, from this.
Right. Okay.
So,
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
yeah, we got into selling. I don't know if Ipe has this on his blog or a video or something, but when we were all living in California, it was right when COVID hit and we, whole world is freaking out basically. And we got into selling PP products, like myself, Ipe, Dan, a few of us others. None of us had a background in medical sales. I mean, none of us had a background in products, honestly, but we did know how to connect the dots. Like we knew somebody like happened through a friend that had access to, you know, supply chain, whatever. Well, guess what? We know how to get leads. So like, I mean, it worked, right? And obviously, like we would have never thought that we would be into that, but it was just those opportunities that kind of came across our lap, you know, at that time. And we made a lot of money, you know? So it's just stuff like that that you kind of prepare yourself for, that you just never know. I would never do that again because it was very stressful. But, you know, those are those stuff you don't think about. And we taught that to the group too. So we were teaching when we were learning, like we were getting in, we're like, hey, we found, here's an option, you know, and like some other people did really well at that too. You know, from that point. So again, lots you can do with it. But this is kind of the main, you know, course foundation, right? And then I showed you the one-on-one calendar. So you have that. And then you have the Facebook group. So that is where I think a lot of us spend a lot of our time, you know, at this point. It's not like I need to go back and watch, you know, those videos anymore. I haven't watched them in a very long time. You know, you just know the drill. But I learn a ton from this group, you know, all the time. There's just so many people that are, you know, adding value, like, hey, I tried this, or hey, I did this. And, you know, you can cherry pick that's a great idea. I didn't think about that. You know, I can implement that in my business. And we're not sitting here like stepping on each other's toes because there's so much opportunity and so many niches. And I mean, you don't run into that really in this business. Always competition, you know, anywhere, but not saturation, which I think is really important too when you're starting something. You know, it's going to be able to go the distance and build and evolve and grow with you. So if you're going to invest time into something, you know, it's important.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate you going through and giving me a breakdown of everything in the program.
Yeah.
Um, I guess let's see here. Let's see here. So I guess on average, like how much um, starting out, like how much does it like what are the startup costs to like
No, for
start
sure.
this type of business?
Yeah, so the cost of everything, like we're kind of one and done. So it's not like a subscription or you don't have to pay to get coaching, and there's no upsell stuff basically is what I'm trying to say. It's 7,000 for the course, 6,000 if you pay for it in full. And like I said, that includes your done for you sites as well. Um, that's that side of it, you know, from a business expense side, it's pretty low, honestly. Like, I mean, you got to pay for your web hosting, right? For your sites. That's about 15 bucks a month-ish, I'd say, per site. You pay for your call tracking number. That's about 15 bucks a month per site. There's some software I tell you to use. We have group buys available. So like it makes it very affordable. So you're not going and spending hundreds upon hundreds of dollars a month for this SEO software. Um, I think eventually, like as your business grows, you can justify that, right? But like you don't need that from the beginning. You don't need a CRM. I mean, use Google Sheets like we all did. You know, like I think that a lot of people put so much fluff into stuff all the time. Like you gotta have this and you gotta, and it's, yeah, like it makes you sound good, but you don't need it. And it's a waste of money, in my opinion. We all run our businesses very lean, like sometimes probably too lean, you know, we could probably do more, but I think again, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a very simplified process. Build the site, get it up, get the leads, sell it, right? Move on to the next. And that's really our mentality, and how we try to, you know, teach you guys is simple is honestly better, you know, in our eyes with that. So, you know, you could do the math, right? Like 30 bucks a site ish, you know, add some software in, let's just say, you know, 30 bucks a month, but that encompasses your whole business. So it's not per site. That would be, I'd say, the very beginning costs, you know, and again, as you grow, right? Like, okay, you got QuickBooks now, and then maybe you want to invest in a CRM, you know, monthly expense on that, but you'll have the money and revenue to back up and justify, you know, those things. So You can do
Right.
everything for free. Like, I think that's also kind of a misconception I've heard is like SEO is so expensive. It totally can be, really, it can. But that goes back to like what I was saying in the beginning. ePay's blog costs a lot of money to run, right? Like from a monthly expense standpoint, but it's a much big, I mean, right? Cost this amount, but the payouts here, you know, from based off of a traffic and international reach. So when we're going on local, that's where this gets very cost effective because we're like, our competition is like third graders. They don't know what they're doing. You know, like you find those holes, you can see, I mean, it's crazy, honestly, even in today's world, you know, this has been around for so, I mean, lead gen, you know, has been around for a while. You would think businesses would be a little more active with this stuff. I mean, they don't even have their websites attached to their, you know, their Google Maps profile. They've got nothing, you know, like, because they're just going and doing their job, you know, like they just want their phone to ring. That's all they want. So when we are able to kind of come in and really solve that problem for them, like, hallelujah, you know, they're so stoked. And that's their mind, you know, they're not the big Fortune 500 stuff. And that's again where it comes simple to this. So we're going to teach you SEO. You can do all that for free. You don't need to be paying for backlinks. You don't really need to be paying for Google ads or Facebook ads. There's tactics we teach that you can, more from like a leverage point, like a quick point of it, but you don't have to. I mean, I didn't, you know, in the beginning. I think it's just all about getting like those first couple clients, and then you can start to like sprinkle in all this other stuff if you want to.
Right. Okay. Okay. Um, let's see here. Yeah, I guess I just need to think about what program or what direction I want to go with because I don't know. I this morning I had a call with, I think it was like about YouTube automation channels.
Yeah.
And then I think I have this call with you, and then I think I have another call about like starting an AI agency. And so I think really it's just like, I'm just trying to learn about the different business models, the different offers, um, and just
I
like,
think too, and I'll just say this, like, again, I'm super direct and transparent. Like, I think obviously you have to, the best advice I could give you when you're deciding or think about this, like keep this on the top of your mind. I think you got to figure out what's important too, right? Because again, you can start an agency doing any like, you know, marketing and all this other stuff or branding and, you know, that side of it. But the time is where the difference is because I mean, you're going to continually be churning for clients. I did that in my business. I grew my business to over 50 grand a month. Like that was our highest. And you know, like when you're in like grind mode and hustle mode, you just go, go, go. And you like just kind of just keep going. But then it's like the reality hits. I'm like, dude, I am spending a lot of time doing this, you know, and it became like a job for me again. And that's not why I got into it. You know, I wanted to be able to be present and not have to be talking to clients all the time. I mean, like that's the stuff I wanted to get away from, you know, and when you're running ads and doing all these other things, there are expectations as they should be, right? They're paying you. So like, you know, you kind of have to be at their beck and call a little bit when it comes to that. But I think just keep in mind of like the work, you know, that goes into that stuff. I think there's millions of ways to make money, but it's just what is your goal? So if if you figure out that and like, I think the model almost can present itself too, right? Of what you want to do. Um, and I think that's why for me, this is why I loved this side of it is because it was flexible. Because that is more important to me than the money, right? I scaled back. Like I ended up dropping SEO clients. I dropped Google ads clients. I mean, I did a lot of stuff, right? But it wasn't about that. I'm like, I just want to be able to like turn off my phone for the weekend, or I want to be able to get up and go whenever I want. I don't want to have to be tied to these conversations. And that's what I do. I don't work very often. I probably could work more, but like time freedom for me is beyond important. Like I travel all the time, and that's kind of how we live our life, is like we'll wake up and be like, what do you want to do today? Do you want to go to Nashville? Okay, great. Like book a flight, right? Like I love that spontaneous, ability to be able to do that. Um, and I know a lot of people that kill it running the agency stuff. They really do. I mean, it's amazing and phenomenal to watch them and grow their brand, in that sense. But again, that's also something that I didn't want to do, because I don't really want my face blasted all over the internet either. I don't like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to keep my stuff private. I don't want someone to know what I'm doing constantly.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to explore, because if you are going to invest your time and your money, you need to be passionate about it in some way. And I also think you need to that's just advice I'd give you, because I know there's a lot of stuff out there with what you can do, but just keep that in mind, right? Like if an agency is the end goal, you are working for clients. That is an agency. That is what you're doing, and you have to, again, I think there's nothing wrong with it. I did that, like I said, for a long time, but you are going to be in the churn and burn. You're going to be, prospecting a lot. And I think there is the other side to that stuff that I think sometimes they don't tell you, or don't like skim by on that side of it. You don't have the control or the leverage points, that you can have from different angles and avenues.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, listen, I think you want to just reach out to me, if you have more questions, or after you kind of think about what route you want to go.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll definitely reach out to you. I have a couple more meetings, just to see what these other programs are about. I do have a trip next month. But when I get back, that's when I am going to decide,
Okay.
which way I want to go. So I think
Going on your
probably,
trip.
oh yeah, I'm going to the Philippines. I'm going on vacation for a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Cool. Good for
Uh,
you.
and then yes, I think probably the week of March 17 is, when I'll be back, and uh, when I'm going to decide, and
Okay.
you know, see where I want to go. And yeah, I mean, you're right about the whole, you know, agency, it's all about clients. And so I think that's something I definitely need to think about. And, yeah, just kind of, I don't know, hopefully, it comes to me when I'm in the Philippines.
Hey, listen, I get it. And I only say that because, I mean, listen, I see the value in this, obviously, but I think I've told people like this isn't the route for you. You know what I mean? Like and I'm not saying for you specifically, but I think you truly do. I think if you want to do it or you don't. Like I think truly, like you have that feeling of like, okay, I don't really know how I'm gonna do this, but I know I want to, right? Like, and that will come to you, it will get there to that point. And that's where you're gonna be successful, whether it's this, AI, it doesn't matter, right? Like I said, there's something for everybody. You just need to know, I think, the real picture behind stuff. And I think there's a lot of things that will position it from, oh, this is turnkey, like affiliate marketing. I hate when I'm like, no, that is not how, it's not that easy. Like,
Yeah.
I wish it was, but it's not, and I think affiliate marketing is amazing. And you should be doing it if you have a client base, if you have followers, if you know how to get leads, right? Like ePay's blog, boom. That is affiliate. That's the prime of what he's doing. You know what I mean? So he's silly to not utilize that side of it, but he had to know the foundation to get to that point, right? And I think those are the things that are missing sometimes in certain models. You always need to go back to the basics and the core, right? Of how am I going to get clients for this business? And same thing with YouTube. Like YouTube's phenomenal, right? It's huge, but you still go back to, okay, if you're gonna do YouTube, you got to get content. That's a whole nother job within itself, is being a content creator. Tried that for a hot minute and I'm like, I'm over it. Like, I don't want to sit here and edit stuff all day long. And I'm not gonna pay to have somebody do it. Like, just a lot of work, you know? And I think it sounds really pretty. But it's continual. And because there is so much competition, you know, in those spaces. And that's where, you know, when you can build like an organic foundation with like, even like in this, right? Like, even though organic can take a little bit longer, it's not as quick as putting up an ad. Once it's there, you don't have to touch it. You know, it's sticking, it's authoritative, and you can move on to the next, right? And then move on to the next and not have to continue like burning your time with everything. So, anyways, but yeah, you go, you know, speak to them, figure out. I think you do, again, need to have that clear idea, you know, of what you feel, you know, pulled towards. And then you have an amazing time on your vacation. That sounds awesome. And you can just stay, I mean, you obviously have my contact info, so you can, you know, reach out whenever. You can text or email and more questions pop up. But yeah, it's not going anywhere. So
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate, all of your insights and advice and going over the program and everything.
sure.
So yeah, so thank you. And
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully, I figure it out and I'll let you know which direction I go.
Okay, that sounds good. And like I said, if anything pops up question wise, just shoot me an email and we'll take it from there. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
I hope you have a good rest of the day. See ya.
You too. Bye.